Hey guys, Joe here at JP Details, and today I want to share with you my new hobby, which is fish keeping. Firstly, I need to get my new tank set up, which I'm extremely excited to do as I haven't had a fish tank for over 6 years, and I certainly love to see those little fishies swimming around. The fish tank that I've decided to purchase is called a Fluval Roma 200, which is a 200 litre tropical aquarium, and just like the rest of the furniture of the new flat, it's finished in Solomon oak. I should warn you now that I do take my fish keeping incredibly seriously, just like my detailing, so to the best of my knowledge, this video will be an informative series documenting my journey with the fish tank. I won't go crazy with the uploads as I do intend to remain a detailing channel, but I really do want to show off my new tank. I've bought a few goodies to go with the fish tank, which include some grey gravel for the base and also some specific substrate for real aquatic plants. A bag of pebbles, because everyone needs one of those in their life, some algae tablets, which is a clue as to what type of fish will be going in there, some fluval tap conditioner and cichlid flakes, which is also another big clue as to what other type of fish I'll be getting, some API test strips, because like I say, I am an aspiring professional fish keeper. Flora Boost, which is a water treatment and plant fertilizer to help the plants to grow, an air bubble stone strip with air piping and the air machine, which is a seriously cool bit of kit when set up. The biggest task was to build the aquarium cabinet, which after all of the other apartment furniture went incredibly smoothly as I am now a semi-professional flat pack expert. I've got to say, now that I've lived with the aquarium for 8 weeks, I am a bit behind on these YouTube uploads. I can honestly recommend this aquarium and cabinet combination if you fancy getting one for yourself. The other fluval options for this type of aquarium and cabinet, i.e. the same design, are the 90 litre version, 125 litre version, the 200 litre version and the 240 litre version. The reality of my apartment and with the size of it meant that I was best suited to the 200 litre tank, which I am incredibly pleased with. I'd have loved a 240 litre tank, but they are just too big. To give you some background info in terms of my current tropical fish keeping experience, then the last tank I'd had it since I was 17 years old and kept it till I was roughly 24 years old. I thoroughly enjoyed that fish tank. In fact, it was a Fluval Rio 125 litre, so the old design of Fluval tanks, and some of the fish that I kept for being 17 years old, I still had them when I was 24 years old. These were two common plecos called Max and Rex. Max was 11 inches long and Rex was a little more than 6 inches long. When I eventually moved back out into my own place, which was quite recently, one of my first thoughts was what pet can I get, and I was kind of limited to a fish tank due to renting. However, I'm very glad now that I've got one. The Fluval Roma 200 cabinet was pretty easy to put together. In fact, I'm going to make a time-lapse version of this video showing the complete building and setting up process in fast forward mode, as I did manage to capture the entire thing from start to finish, pretty much the same as what I did with the Furnishing My Apartment series. With the fish tank you also get the filter system, which is a good one, probably one of the best without moving to the external filter things, which I have no experience with, the LED light bar to give your little scaly friends some light, and also a thermometer and the power cables and heater. The first step for setting up the aquarium is to put the substrate in, which is a specific type of substrate designed for planted aquariums. This is almost like a compacted soil as it contains all sorts of nutrients to help your plants to grow and to also allow them to root into the substrate. I believe I used 10 kilograms of the substrate in total to provide the plants with a solid 2 inches of depth, which is what they need to root themselves in for maximum healthy growth. I then added the top gravel, which is a mixture of light grey and medium grey gravel, to begin the landscaping side of the aquarium. The next step was to brim the tank with tap water. It must have taken 50 loads of washing up bowls to fill, but when it was full, I was happy. Please note that all precautions to clean the washing up bowl were taken, i.e. thoroughly cleaning it out with water and no soap. It was quite a fun process filling the tank, and it was a monumentous moment when it was full. I set the LED light bar up, heater, thermometer, filter and placed the stone airstrip in there just so I could begin establishing the aquarium. Then the next day I decided to pop off to the not so local pet store to buy the plants and decorations. One fun drive there and back and I was home with a few decorative items for the tank. If you know anything about aquarium plants, then I purchased 6 Iubius heterophilia, 4 Anubia congenesis and 5 Microsorium petropus, plus 3 other decorative things that have since been replaced with other items. I'll explain shortly. The plants were initially rinsed under the tap to remove any potential snails or snail eggs, and to also make sure that the plants are nice and clean before going into the tank. I began the process of aquascaping the tank, which I'll just mention now that the tank does look completely different today, but if you want to watch the entire aquascaping stage, then make sure you keep an eye out for the time-lapse version of this video, as it will contain 100% of the footage, but all in fast forward mode. I'm pretty sure I did this stage completely wrong. In fact, I think I should have done it before putting the water in. Lesson learned, I guess, which you'll see shortly. It got to the point where I was no longer able to see as there was so much mess caused by the substrate. I had to give up for the day and return back to it when the tank had settled. The reason as to why the tank is so murky is quite simply due to the live substrate, which is essentially compacted soil, which is obviously going to murk up when stirred. I had a change of plan a few days later and decided to empty the tank and start again, and what a faff that turned out to be. I purchased a 3D background from Aquarium. They do ship worldwide with a discount code in the video's description. I went for the beige rock and brown root background, all to give the aquarium a natural appearance. To fit one of these 3D backgrounds, you actually have to cut a section of the center support brace out in order for you to slide the 3D background in. For the record, that support brace doesn't really offer much in terms of tank stabilisation, not enough to warrant leaving it in so you can't have a 3D background anyway. The gravel and substrate were cleaned under the tap, which I should have done in the first place as it is recommended. However, whilst cleaning the plant substrate, I realised that there was a problem. Like I mentioned earlier, the plant substrate is like compacted soil, so whilst I was cleaning it, which took me 5 minutes to realise what was going on, the substrate was practically turning to mud. I made a right mess in my rental apartment's bathroom, and in fact it was actually a complete waste of time. Approximately 2 hours later, after emptying the tank and trying to clean the gravel and substrate, the 3D background was put in, as was the old gravel and substrate. I purchased a fresh 5kg bag of the substrate to make a nice layer over the top, and also bought a new 5kg bag of gravel to finish the top surface off, although the latter wasn't put in until after the aquascaping went down. This time, whilst adding the plants and setting them up where I wanted them to go, was a much more enjoyable process without any water in the tank, quite simply because I could see what I was doing. Again, I'll just mention that if you want to watch all of this footage in fast forward mode without any talking, then keep an eye out for the time-lapse version. One of the fun parts about being a tropical fish keeper is setting the aquarium up in the first place, so I certainly spent the time trying to get it right. I haven't done a planted tankscape before, and I honestly really enjoyed the experience. The 3D background does mean that you lose around 2 inches on the depth of the tank, but this is more than made up with the natural appearance that it gives the tank's environment. After I planted all of the live aquarium plants in the locations where I wanted them to go, I dug in the other decorative features, which I'll quickly mention now that they have since been replaced with even more natural looking items. With everything in place, I began mugging out the top layer of gravel and filled in the spaces. I just knew at this point that I was onto one seriously good looking and natural aquarium. I was starting to get excited. The filter was fitted back inside, as was the heater, and the filling of the tank with the washing up bowl and tap water began once again. A bit murky from the second initial filling process, but I was certainly happy now that I can leave the tank for those 2 weeks before getting my new fishy friends. In the meantime, I purchased an impressive amount of water treatments to make sure that I'm fully equipped for all circumstances, and even removed a few of those non-natural decorative items from the tank. The water had settled nicely, I performed my first few water test kits, and my research was starting to pay dividends. I then purchased a CO2 kit and left it running 24/7 for 4 weeks to feed the plants, which is what they need, although in reality they only want 8 hours of CO2 per day. It took me 5 weeks to realise why my GH, KH and pH levels were so low, which was because of the constant stream of CO2. I kept adding Malawi cichlid salt and pH buffer until my API test kit readings were high enough, not realising that all of that CO2 was bringing them right back down again. I previously read on the internet that nitrate and phosphate was bad for fish, so I kept adding nitrate and phosphate minus, but until my plants started dying and turning brown and shrivelling up, that I realised through new online research that the plants actually need nitrate and phosphate to survive. I completed a few water changes over the next couple of weeks and stopped adding anything to the tank other than the Fluval Tap Safe conditioner, plus a few extra nutrients to give the plants a boost, and I must say that over 2 weeks down the line, the plants are back to looking fantastic. This footage must have been taken around 3 weeks ago, so the tank is looking far more established now, but please tune into part 2 as we'll be going and buying the fish and putting them in the tank. As always, thank you for watching, and make sure you don't miss the time-lapse version, as it will be a fast-forwarded version with 100% of the footage without any talking. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please drop the video a like to show a bit of support. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, just search JP Details. I'll hopefully catch you in the next one.